right, The Last Patrol, a story of character, courage, and faith. Chapter 1, Nate. December 1983, upstate New York, near the Canadian border. Jake had told Nate that he'd get him after school, and there he was, standing outside the entrance, waiting. But not just Jake. Jake with his crew, Eric, Nick, and Keith, the class bullies since forever. From inside looking down the hallway, Nate watched them through the glass doors. He quivered. They prowled, like predators, like sharks circling a life raft, biding their time. No way out, no way home. 5 times Nate tried calling his mother. He knew she was there, but she didn't answer. She really did. Nate stood against the wall, 50 feet back from the doors, hoping they couldn't see him. But they saw him, and they could see Jake as well, that sinewy large body, his narrow-gaunt face, humorless and cruel. Those beady, penetrating eyes, not so much analytical, but calculating, pathological, and black. Trembling, heart pounding, he gasped rapid, shallow breaths. Lightheaded, adrift in a whirl, he staggered. The 4 were laying in wait for over 2 hours now. It was coming on 6 o'clock on a cold December night and getting dark. Nate hoped they'd eventually give up and go home, but Jake had nothing better to do. As it grew darker outside, the hallway seemed to become brighter. Nate sensed this and felt exposed, caught under glaring stage lights. He knew they could now see him clearly. They pressed their faces close to the glass, peered in and threw taunts. "I can see you! Lady boy, come out and play! Chicken, bok, bok, bok! Get your ass out here, you little pussy!" They weren't tired. They smelled blood. There was no other choice. They'd had to find another way out, but he knew it couldn't outrun them. They were much bigger than him, big for freshmen, while Nate was small, the size of a 6th grader, his body tender like a frail child. With his eyes scrunched in anguish, tremors rippling through his body, Nate pressed fingers to his mouth as he struggled to think. All he could do was back away slowly. "Please, God, don't let him see." But he didn't get far. Jake shouted, "Hey, you sneaking off!" He pointed. "Nick and Keith, go that way. Eric, you're with me." They ran in opposite directions to cover all exits. Nate turned and raced down the hallway. Blue lockers, gray walls, trophy cases all merged into a blur as they flew past. His lungs heaved for air. He headed toward the main office, then thought, no one there this late. He froze. Where? The gym. He backtracked toward the gym, got to the doors and yanked. It opened, thank God. Nate ran in and raced across the hardwood floor to the far side. He stopped at the emergency exit doors and trembled. Lifting shaking hands to the panic bar, he froze. Then, swallowing hard, he cracked open the door and peered out. The coast was clear. He pushed it open a little further and poked out his head. The other way was clear as well. He burst out and sprinted to the left, toward the main road in front of the school. There were streetlights and cars driving by. Maybe he'd be safe there. His heart pounded as he ran with everything he had. Almost there, 30 yards to go. I can make it, he thought. I'm going to make it. So close. But from around the corner, out stepped Nick. He shouted, "He's over here!" They turned and ran the other way. He heard Nick closing in from behind, but didn't dare look back. Then it came to him, the teacher's parking lot. Maybe a teacher stayed late. It was his last hope, just around the corner to the right, only 10 yards more. He rounded the corner and was slammed in the chest, lifting him into the air, flipping him backwards and smashing him onto the ground. Dazed, lost, Nate was on his back, looking up. Bright white spots dotted his vision. Jake was waiting there and hit Nate, launching him into the air, pounding his head onto the pavement. Standing over his prey, looking down, he laughed. "Where do you think you're going, you little puke?" He bent down, grabbed Nate by the jacket collar, lifted to his feet. "We got you now, you little shit." The others closed in around Nate. Trapped on all sides, he pleaded, "Why? Why?" "Why?" laughed Jake. "Why not?" Nate sighed. It's over. But it wasn't over. It was only just beginning. It had started a day like most of his days. Beep, 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 beep. Nate didn't hear the alarm clock. He wasn't awake. But from muscle memory, he swatted at the doze button in an instinctive fight for more sleep. Silence returned, and he drifted back into slumber. Nate's sleep was never peaceful, not even restful. It was more nothingness. But nothingness was better than the pain he knew every day, and so his body fought for a little more. Beep, 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 beep. This time his consciousness crawled out from its slumber, out from its stupor. He reached over and hit the snooze button. Again, silence, but now he was awake. Dreary-eyed, he stared at the clock. 6 a.m. Another day at paradise, another day at high school. The alarm rang again. This time he switched it off. He pushed away the bed covers and was stung by a jolt of cold air. He got up, rubbed his arms, and shivered, dressed, left his bedroom, then made his way down the dark hallway toward his mother's room. He cracked open her door and listened. At first he didn't hear it, and his heart raced. He pushed his head into her room, waited, listening. Then, softly he heard a breathing, and a wave of relief fell upon him like a long exhale. 10 years he had done this, every morning since he was 4. And every morning there was that tiny moment of terror when he waited to hear. He always feared the silence. Something inside him always told him that this was the day his mother would be dead. He didn't know why, nor why he feared it so. Although she wasn't much of a mother, she was all he had, and he needed something, anything. Morbid depression and listlessness were all Nate knew of her. She had been this way since he was an infant when his father died. She never recovered. Nate closed the door and groped his way down the stairs to the kitchen. He poured himself a bowl of cereal and ate slow in silence, staring out at nothing. He was only 14, but already felt so old, worn out. Life, he mused. He wanted to smirk, but couldn't muster it. On the table, his mother had left him a note to pick up her depression medicine after school. On his way out, he grabbed his winter coat, opened the front door, then stepped out into the frozen, cold gray of a pre-dawn December morning in upstate New York. But he was used to it. He knew it well. It was the same as every day of his life, an endless stream of gray interspersed with occasional spikes of horrible black. Little did he know today would be a black day. The stiff wind pressed against him and sent a biting chill. Nate pulled his jacket collar tight to shelter naked flesh, cut across the front yard. Frost-frozen grass crunched beneath his feet. It was a long trek to school, 3 miles. Though he qualified for a free bus pass, Nate preferred to walk because school buses had become, for him, a place of concentrated adolescent cruelty. It was early December, but didn't quite seem winter, that dreary time after all the green of summer had died and before the white of snow, the time when everything seemed so dead. As he walked past the bare bony trees, Nate looked up at them. Silhouetted against the purple pre-dawn sky, they looked more like crooked skeletons. An hour later, the school came into view. Throat dry, he swallowed. As he drew closer, his heart beat fast and hard. He emerged into a swarm of bodies that funneled into entrance doors. Stepping inside, he was lost in a sea of giants, swept away in a current as he made his way to his locker. "Look out, shrimp! Get out of the way, turd! Chink runt!" Someone shoved him from behind, and he staggered to stay on his feet. "Jet, loser! Boy, it's nippy out here today." He got it every day, same old stuff. He pulled books from his locker and headed off to first period class. That's when he saw him, Jake, his tormentor, coming at him from down the hall. Nate jumped behind a cluster of kids chatting and slid along the lockers. He crouched low and turned his head the way so Jake couldn't see him. The threat was almost past, but then he saw him. "Hey, Nate, get your ass over here, boy." Nate froze and rushed into the nearest classroom. A teacher was there, alone, must have had first period off. "Can I help you?" she asked. "No, Nate looked about, then hurried to the trash can. "I think I'm going to be sick." He bent over and pretended to drive heave into it. Nate stood outside the door and whispered, "I told you, $1 a day. You think you're so smart. You think you can get away. Just you wait, Natey boy. After school, I'll get you real good this time. I'll make you pay." The teacher lifted her gaze toward the voice, stood and walked to the door. Jake sprinted off down the hallway. She stepped out, watched him run away, and then came back in. "He's gone now. You better be on your way. You're late already." "I still feel sick. Please, just another minute." She shrugged and made a suit-yourself expression and sat at her desk. The rest of the day for Nate was a blur. He wouldn't remember a thing. All he could think of was a ticking clock. With dread, he watched it count down. He thought to skip out early, but what good would it do? There would always be the next day and the next. Better to face what was coming now. Then the bell rang, the end of the last period. It was now too late. But it was too late already, for they had them in their grip. "Let's take him to the outside bathroom near the gym," said Jake. They dragged him by his jacket. Nate writhed to break their grip. Jake punched his face. Pain burst. Expecting more, he ducked his head and lifted his arms to cover his face. "So that's the way you want to play," said Jake. He grabbed Nate by the hair and dragged him along. "Ha!" screamed Nate as he tripped and fell. Jake then dragged him on the ground by his hair for a dozen yards as Nate yelped like a dog being kicked. "Shut up," shouted Jake. He pulled Nate to his feet and slapped him. Another sting of pain. They hustled Nate into the bathroom and kept the lights off so no one would see. "No, no!" Nate grabbed hold of the door jamb as he went through. Eric chopped down his forearm onto Nate's wrist, breaking his grip. Nate pleaded, "I'll get the money, I promise. Anything you want." Too late for that. Jake pointed at the toilet. "Everyone take a piss." Eric went first. He pissed and flushed. "Don't flush, you idiot," said Jake. Keith went next, followed by Nick, then Jake. As Jake pissed, he sang, "O solo mio, o solo mio, stanta fronte." The other three laughed. "That's so stupid it's funny," snickered Nick. Jake sneered. It's not stupid, you moron. The old man used to sing it. It means it's in your face. In a second, it's going to be in Nate's face. Get it? They laughed. Jake finished and zipped. They dragged Nate toward the toilet. Nate fought to resist, angling his legs, dragged his feet on the tile floor, and cried, "Please, please, please." "Please?" asked Jake. "Okay, if you insist." They flipped Nate upside down and dunked his head into the piss, slamming his head hard onto the white ceramic. Inside the toilet bowl, the stench of urine was concentrated, and warm fluid swirled through his hair. "Stop!" he screamed. "Stop!" They laughed, pumping Nate up and down, plunging his head into the piss, pounding it on the porcelain. When satisfied, the four pulled Nate out and dropped him on the ground. His skull thumped hard on the tile. Nate struggled to his feet. As Nate struggled to his feet, urine ran down the sides of his head and face to soak his jacket. As he was getting up, a little piss splashed onto Keith. "You little prick!" yelled Keith as he slammed a fist into Nate's face. Nate hadn't seen the blow coming, but it sparked his vision. He could feel himself falling, as if in a dream, his body tumbling backward into the darkness. He hit the cold tile floor hard, bewildered. He couldn't think, what's coming next? Will it all stop? Is there any way out? Blinded by fear and pain, he couldn't think at all. But they could think. "What else?" Said Jake, gripping his chin like a philosopher contemplating. "I know, let's make him sing," said Keith. "Yeah, let's make him sing Old MacDonald," said Nick. "Good idea." Jake shoved Eric toward Nate. "Stand him on the toilet." Eric waved a fist in Nate's face. "Get your ass up there." Okay, just don't. Trembling, Nate flipped down the toilet seat and climbed on top, straddling over the piss. Nick laughed. "Look at him. He's a toilet king." "Sing," yelled Jake. Nate pleaded. I don't know it." "Shut up, you liar. Everyone knows Old MacDonald," said Jake. Quivering, Nate began. "Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on the farm he had..." He stopped, looked confused. "Had what?" demanded Jake. "Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on the farm he had..." Nate's facial muscles strained with agony. He knew he was done for. Jake punched him in the stomach. "Ugh!" Nate doubled over from the pain, lost his balance, fell to the side, but caught himself against the wall of the stall. "We're knocked out. Can't breathe." "You're one sorry piece of crap. You don't even know Old MacDonald," said Jake. "All right, just to show you what a good guy I am, I'll make it easy for you. We'll tell you the animal. You tell us what sound it makes, okay? If you get them all right, we'll let you go. What sound does a cow make?" His stomach still knotted. Nate panicked to breathe. "Come on, what about a cow?" They caught his wind, but then gasped desperate breaths. He recovered, but terrified of what they might do to him if he got it wrong, he hesitated. "Moo?" "Oh, very good. You got one. Maybe there's a little hope for you after all. What sound does a pig make?" "Oink." "Right again. You're in a hot streak. What about a duck?" "Quack." "Oh my," said Jake, dripping sarcasm. "Damn, boy, you might just make it." "Just lucky," said Nick. "Okay, last one. How about a chicken?" "What?" mocked Jake. "Balk?" Jake made the sound of a game show buzzer. "Wrong. Clucks. Chicken make clucks. Close, but no cigar." "All right, get him down." They yanked Nate off the toilet. "I was going to let you go if you got them all, but..." Jake shook his head. "Too bad for you." "Wedgie, wedgie, wedgie," cheered Nick. Jake nodded. "Okay." They reached inside Nate's pants, grabbed his underwear, and yanked hard. Pain tore through Nate's testicles as his underwear was ripped up and torn away. He screamed, tears streaming down his cheeks. Nate tied the tattered underwear around Nate's neck in a knot. He pulled it tight enough for him to feel the choke. Nate coughed and yanked at the underwear, writhing his neck for air. "That's your do-rag," said Jake. "That's your bandana. Now you're a gangbanger. You're a tough guy now." Eric punched Nate on the shoulder. "How does it feel?" Nate staggered back from the blow and almost fell. "All right, let's go." Jake turned to leave. "No, one more thing," said Keith. Jake turned back. "What do you got in mind?" "Let's pants him." Keith unbuttoned Nate's jeans and jerked them down to his knees. Shame, a new feeling to add to the fear and pain. "Holy crap," yelled Keith. "The boy's got no pubic hair." "No way." Jake moved over. "See for yourself." Jake leaned in close to see in the dim light. "Holy crap, you're right, no pubes." They all laughed. "What are you?" demanded Jake. "You're not a man, that's for sure. I thought you were even a boy. So what are you?" They trembled, lost what to say. He began to moan. "Quit crying, you puke." Jake slapped Nate on the side of the head. "Screw it, let's take his pants." Nate lifted a hand to cover his ringing ear. Eric pounded his palm onto Nate's chest, shoving him down hard. Nate's tailbone hit the floor. Stab of pain. Eric yanked at Nate's pants, which caught in his shoes. "Take them off, you idiot!" Jake shoved at Eric's shoulder. Eric took off Nate's shoes and threw him into the piss. Nate turned on the side, lay there and whimpered. Nick pulled off Nate's pants. Laughing, they went out the door with the trousers. Jake was last to leave. Just before exiting, he stopped and turned, rushed back to Nate, still on the floor. "Here, sit up." Jake helped him up, only to throw a punch directly in Nate's nose. Nate barely felt this one. He was numb, almost beyond feeling. Jake grinned. "That one for good luck." He turned and departed. Left alone, Nate scrambled across the floor, crab walking backward into the corner. He huddled in a tight ball and shook. Wrapping arms across his chest, he clung to himself. Feeling nauseous, he vomited, but he didn't cry. Instead, it was more a guttural animal wail, like the sound of a wounded creature on the edge of death. Pain, shame, and torment, like an electric overload, flooded through him, searing his neural wiring, but there was no breaker to trip, nothing to shut it all down. So, with tortured eyes, mouth stretched wide, he writhed his head and wailed. A half hour later, his breathing finally slowed, and he settled enough to think. Freezing outside, 3 miles to home, can't go naked. Then it came to him. Gym shorts, gym shoes, but how? Grabbing his sink while bracing against the wall, he struggled to his feet. He took off his jacket, tied it around his waist, and stepped out into the terrible cold, barefoot. Chapter 2, Esther. She wasn't exactly ugly, just a little less than plain. Esther knew it, but didn't mind so much. Her focus was elsewhere, and that's what made her beautiful. It was something inside her, something special, something life couldn't kill. Practice for the winter play just finished. Esther walked to the auditorium doors and stepped out into the black night. With the moon and stars shrouded behind cloud, it was only the faint glow from scattered remnants of rays that illumined the celestial mist. A piercing cold stung the exposed skin of her face. There was a strong north wind blowing, bringing waves of polar air straight down across Canada. But Esther didn't mind the cold. In fact, she barely felt it. 3 miles to home, but she floated as she strolled along the roadside. Giddy with exuberance, she glowed. The drama teacher just told her that she won the lead role in the winter play. She would star as Scarlett O'Hara in the play adaptation of Gone with the Wind. Way up ahead in the dark, Esther glimpsed the back of a shadowy figure. Curious, she quickened her pace to catch up. When she got close, she thought, "It looks like Nate. But why the shorts, the goof?" She snuck up to surprise him. "Boo!" Nate jumped like a startled rabbit. He was pretty nervous pretty much all the time, but rarely this much. She skipped up beside him. "Did I scare you?" He stammered, not turning to look. He was trembling, eyes shifting about, unfocused, confused. "Did I scare you?" No. Esther looked at him with a curious grin. "Hey, silly, what's with the gym shorts?" Nate turned away. "He's hiding something." Then she heard a whimper. "You're crying." "No," he said softly. She heard it again, this time with a sniffle. "Yeah, you are." "No, I'm not." "And you're all wet." "No, I'm not." "Yeah, you are." Nate halted. "Leave me alone, Esther. Please, just walk ahead." Looking down at the dark road, he lifted a tired arm and pointed toward home. "I'm not going anywhere." With that, Nate took off in a sprint, but he was smaller than her, and she soon caught up. She paced alongside him. "Nate, stop! Nate! Nate!" He kept running. She grabbed the sleeve of his jacket and pulled him to a halt. "I'm not leaving you. You're my friend, my best friend." Nate stood there panting, then yanked his arm from her grip and started back down the road. Esther walked beside him. She tried to look him in the face, but he turned away. "He's ashamed of something." Nate was shivering. "You look cold." Esther unwrapped a thick knit scarf from around her neck and held it out for him. "Here, put it on." He ignored it, walked on in silence, and wiped a sniffle. "Take it," she said, still holding out the scarf. Nate stopped and for the first time turned toward her. "Smell that?" "No. What?" "Come closer." Esther leaned in, sniffed, then recoiled back. "Ew. It's piss all over me." "Ah, Nate." Pity seeped from her sad eyes. "Let me guess. It was Jake." Then her eyes grew fierce. "Jake! Jake the jackass!" Nate didn't respond. She thrust her hands onto her hips. "It was, wasn't it?" Still no response. Esther waited till he would. Nate reached down and rubbed his shivering legs, then finally said, "Yeah, plus Nick, Keith, and Eric." She shook her head. No, just Jake. He's the ringleader. He's the instigator. The others are just lost boys. Esther, please. With the light of his eyes, Nate nodded his head toward home. Just go. He's giving up. Esther thought to do as he wished, but then turned toward him. I'm not leaving you. You're my friend. Nate turned away, silent. Did you hear me? Still nothing. Then, with eyes lowered, he turned back toward her. You're my only friend. You got other friends. Really? Where? You used to have other friends. Where are they now? I don't know, Nate. People are lame. Nate turned back and walked on, staring into the darkness. I'm a leper. Social kryptonite. Esther shook her head. No, you're not. It's them. No, it's me, all right. I'm a kicking dog. Always have been. No, it's them. Esther grabbed the wet, piss-covered shoulder of Nate's jacket and spun him around toward her. You know why they all left you? You know why they abandoned you? Because they're spineless. Nate pulled from her grip and continued down the road. Esther strode beside him, leaning in to search his face. They are, Nate. Just look at them. They're all running scared. Scared of being an outcast. Scared of being looked down upon. Scared of falling from their pathetic little rung and their pathetic social ladder. Why? Because they're self-serving cowards. Nate's eyes wilted, defeated. Why is he so weak? Answer me. Say something. What do you want me to say? Nothing, I suppose. She had to find another way. She searched. Remember that chick experiment we did in biology? Nate narrowed his eyes. What, the pecking order thing? She nodded. Yeah, that's what they are. Just baby chickens waiting up to grow up to be lame-ass big chickens. Again, silence. Damn, he's so frustrating. Don't you get it? Nate scowled. Get what? I don't even know what you're talking about. All right, they're just like Jake. They're like the mean girls. She stopped to gather her thoughts, and the more she thought, the angrier she became. She turned toward him. They peck on others because they're pecked upon, and they got to take it on someone else. They peck on others because it makes them feel superior, or at least a little less shitty about themselves. They peck on others because it makes them feel strong, but they're not. They're weak, measly people. Nate shrugged. That wasn't good enough for Esther. Or, just like Jake, they got a natural-born mean streak. They got some evil itch inside. They just got to scratch. What's your point? The point is, you can't look at them. They're going to be who they are. They're not going to change, so you got to look at the good inside yourself. Ha! He snapped his head toward her. You're serious, right? Look at me. I'm nothing. I'm a shrimp. A loser. You talk about biology? Remember that film we saw about the baby monkeys? Huh? How they kept some with their mothers, kept some in isolation, gave others a piece of cloth to cling to? Remember that? Yeah? So? That's me. He pointed at his chest. I'm the monkey in isolation. What are you talking about? You got your mom. Really? I don't have a mom. I got a vegetable. She doesn't take care of me. I got to take care of her. And I don't even know how to take care of myself. I had to raise myself all these years. Nate stopped and turned fully toward her. Nurturing, affection, love? I don't even know what that means. I missed out on that part. And you know what? Just like those monkeys. That's why I'm always so nervous. I'm always afraid. My doctor says that's why I'm so small. Said I have cycle something dwarfism. Nate, he turned away and walked on. Esther lagged behind. I'm making it worse. She thought to stop, but then said softly, Nate, I know you've had it hard, but what? He said over his shoulder. But we all have problems. You gotta stop. You gotta stop feeling sorry for yourself. Oh, that's easy for you to say. She scoffed. Think so? I know so. You know nothing. What's my name? She took long, angry strides to catch up with him. What do you mean, what's your name? Beside him now, she leaned toward him and repeated slowly through clenched teeth, What's my name? Nate leaned away. Esther. That's right, Esther. Was it always Esther? As far as I remember, think back, Nate, when we were little. I used to go by Ashley. Oh, yeah, then you changed it about second grade. Know why? He shrugged. No, of course you don't. Now, you complain about your mom. Ha! You know my mom and dad fought over what to name me? My mom wanted Ashley because it's a pretty girl's name. My dad wanted Esther. She had a fit over that. She wouldn't have it. What happened? They compromised, named me Ashley Esther Malka. I see. See what? She almost spit that out. When I was real little, so long ago I can barely remember, my mom used to buy me all these pretty pink things, pretty pink dresses, pretty pink shoes. She'd doll me up, took me out everywhere. She would just show me off. Then one day she quit. What happened? What happened was, when I was 5, she finally realized I was never going to be that pretty little girl she wanted. Nate's eyes softened. So she rejected me. She wasn't really mean to me, didn't hit me or anything. She just got tired of me. Sorry, Esther. Yeah, well, things happen. Anyway, it was clear as day. She abandoned me, all right, and it hurt. How'd you deal with it? I don't know. Sometimes I think it's better to never have been wanted than to be wanted and thrown away. Nate nodded. You're right. My dad could tell I was hurting, so he told me this story, Queen Esther from the Bible. He told me I was named after her. Know what he used to say? She searched his face. I don't know, he mumbled. Guess. She knew Nate wouldn't know, but couldn't help but relish that this is her favorite story. How am I supposed to know? He said louder. He'd say, Esther was badass. Really? He lifted his gaze toward her. Tell me about her. She wriggled inside with glee. Okay, Esther was the queen of Persia. Then one day this man, Haman, convinced the king to kill all the Jews. Esther was a Jew. All the people were going to die, so she decided to go before the king and his court against every law at the risk of her life. She put her life on the line, Nate, to save her people. And just before she did it, guess what she said? Nate exhaled heavy. You know I don't know. Just tell me. She said, if I perish, I perish. Esther searched his face, but Nate didn't react, at least not as much as she thought he should. Don't you get it? That's huge. Yeah, I know it is. And you know why she could say, if I perish, I perish? Because she had total faith in God. Whether she lived or died, she knew God would be with her, and nothing else mattered to her. She was like Abraham, standing over Isaac, knife in hand, ready to sacrifice his one and only son, except she was ready to sacrifice herself. She wiped tears from her eyes. That's why Esther was badass. So that's why you started going by Esther. She shook her head. No, it was second grade when they started teasing me bad. Yeah, I remember. They'd call me Ugly Ashley or Frog Face or Miss Piggy or Chubby. Remember when all the boys started calling me Humpty Dumpty? Yeah, they sucked. I'd cry to my dad, so he'd tell me, don't mind them, because you're Esther. Always remember that, you're Esther. So I started going by Esther, but that only made it worse. I know, they started calling you Ugly Aunt Esther. She laughed. Funny thing is, I always loved Sanford and Son. It's one of my favorite shows. Then she turned serious. So, I may not be pretty. I may not be plain. In fact, I really think I am kind of ugly. But so what if I'm ugly? So what if I'm a freshman? I don't care. I got the lead role in the winter play. And you know why? Because I'm Esther. And Esther was, I know, kind of Nate. Esther was badass. She smiled at him. Now you're getting it. For a time, they walked in silence. Esther looked up at the moving clouds, which blanketed the sky like a solid sheet flowing to the south. A rare break in the clouds caught her eye, and a lone star appeared. Its faint glimmer grew bright, then faded quickly until gone. Nate dragged his feet, kicking pebbles as he trudged along the road. He was glaring down, his face racked with pain like a palm full of paper cuts. Esther's eyes were riveted on him. Darkness, nothing but darkness. It weighed on her heavy. Nate shivered and pushed his hands deep inside his jacket pockets. But I'm not strong like you. You? She paused, not sure what to say. You can be as strong as you want, Nate. Sure. How? You go to church, right? Nate shrugged. With my grandfather during summer. That's right. You told me he's a pastor. So? Remember what Nehemiah said? His jaw sagged down, and he exhaled heavy. Come on, Esther, just tell me. She reached over and touched his arm. He said, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Nate's face froze in a grimace. Esther stared at him. Good, he's wrestling with that. What does it mean? She turned toward him. Lose yourself in God, Nate. Focus on him more than yourself. Then you'll find your strength. Nate tilted his head to the side, his eyes narrowed. I don't know. I mean, how does that work in the real world? You got to find out for yourself. Start by seeking God. A gust of icy air blew in. Esther glanced down at Nate's naked legs, shivering, felt his chill, then held out her scarf. Take it. Again, he turned away from her, this time like withdrawing inside himself. He's slipping away. She wanted to reach out, wrap both arms around him, and never let go. Then that look of 1,000 paper cuts returned. More dark thoughts. I'm just tired, Esther. Yeah, me too. Nate glanced up. No, I'm really tired. Tired of being afraid every day of my life. I just want a day when I'm not afraid. Nate, I ever look out at your life before you? I do. Know what I see? No. Esther feared what he was about to say. I see a struggle every day just to survive. Every single day, a fight to live till the day I die. So what's the point? I mean, why not now? You better not be saying what I think you are. I'm just tired, Esther. Tired of life. She twisted toward him. You selfish little ass. You think you're only be hurting yourself? Nate edged away. No, I just what? You don't think you'd be hurting your mom? My mom? She wouldn't even notice. What about your grandfather then? Nate scrunched his eyes, lips pressed together. That's it. Esther knew she had something, so she dug in the hook. Yeah, that's right. Your grandfather. Remember that when I met him last summer? I could tell. If he killed himself, he wouldn't make it. He'd drown in sorrow. You might as well kill him yourself. She studied Nate. She could tell that one got to him, so she seized the opening and slept in. And what about me? What about you? What do you mean, what about me? We've been best friends since forever. Tch. Sneering, she dripped out the words like dropping rocks from her hands. What about me? I'm sorry, Esther. I didn't think. I know you didn't think, because you're only thinking about yourself. Do you know how much it would hurt me? Nate tipped his head to the side, jaw clenched, brows pulled down. It gave Esther a glimmer of hope, and like the brass ring on the carousel, she reached out to seize it. I'm getting to him. Their homes came in view, just down the block, next door to each other. They arrived at Esther's driveway and stopped. Nate stared at the ground. Well, good night, Esther. She turned toward him. Promise me. She almost leaped to say it. Promise you what? Promise me you won't do anything stupid. I will. I won't. Promise. He lifted both palms toward her. Okay, I promise. She didn't believe him. She was worried. Nate, why don't you come over for dinner? His expression wilted. Come on, Esther. I can't come over like this. Okay, she rushed. Shower, change, then come over. I don't know. I just want to go to bed. Then why don't I come over to your place? Leave it alone, Esther. I'm okay, really. You sure? A crushing urge to cry wrenched inside her, and she held her breath and clenched her stomach muscles to squash it. Nate glared back. He looked annoyed. She swallowed. All right, then. I'll see you tomorrow? She said it like a question. I'll see you. Nate turned and departed. As he walked away, Esther couldn't take her eyes off his back. Then she rushed inside, went straight to her room, closed the door, opened her Bible, and started to pray. She prayed hard. Chapter 3, Ojasa. Nate walked to within a foot of his red front door, stood in the cold and stared at it. He felt the dread. He didn't want to go inside, but where else could he go? He reached to pull keys from his pocket and remembered he didn't have one. He bent down beside the door, lifted an empty orange clay pot, and groped on the ground. With the front light broken since as long as he could remember, Nate couldn't see a thing. He found the key, felt for the slot, and poked it around until it slid in. Home again! Every time he entered, it enveloped him, wrapped around him, made it hard to breathe. That oppression pressing down at him, sucking life out of him. Off to the right, the TV blared, projecting dancing light onto the walls of the cold, dark family room. The light flickered as the picture changed. That's the way it always been for Nate. He was a latchkey kid since his first day of kindergarten, even though his mother was always home. Every day she barely moved, just sat there, slumped on the couch, staring at the TV, except on days when she'd lay in bed and cry. It's all Nate knew of her, and over time the familiarity bred oblivion. No longer did he notice her unkempt hair, tangled strands like the pretzel twigs of a bird's nest, nor did he see the dark bags in her eyes, rough like wrinkled burlap. But all the dreariness, hopelessness, the despair hit Nate again, commingling with self-pity, that self-loathing, sitting like a troll at the edge of his mind. It didn't matter what he was thinking or doing. It was always there, lurking. Now, unabashed, out stepped the troll. He had planned to go straight to the bathroom, shower, then crawl into bed. Instead, he walked over to see his mom. She shifted her ear slightly in his direction and turned back to the TV and asked deadpan, "Did you get my medicine?" "No, why?" "Oh, God. I didn't have a chance, Mom." "Why? You know I won't be able to sleep without my medicine." She exhaled heavy. "I'll get it tomorrow." She turned to him with pleading eyes. "Can't you go out tonight?" They thought of the cold night, harsh and cruel. "It's late, Mom, and I'm really tired." Her head slumped forward, chin dropping on the chest. Nate saw it, more hopelessness. He walked to the kitchen table and sat down in the dark, with elbows on the formica fake wood surface. He let his face fall into open palms. Breathing hard, he felt like crying, but was too drained. Then a wisp of anger flared inside him. It grew like a flame and licked at his soul. He thought of killing Jake, but how? He'd get a gun. How? And what good would it do? Nate knew his problems were bigger than just Jake. His thoughts returned to suicide. Again he thought how. Then it came to him. His mother's pills, right there in the medicine cabinet, probably enough to kill a horse. I'll take fistfuls of each. It's bound to work. Then he thought of his mom and how she would suffer from guilt. Defeat and failure clawed at him. He looked across the kitchen counter and saw the butcher block full of knives. He stared for a time, got up, walked over, and pulled out the large carving knife along with the sharpening rod. He thought of the pain, then figured it would hurt less if the blade was razor sharp. So he scraped the knife across the rod over and over. As he alternated stroking each side of the blade, the thought came to him, will I go to hell? But it lasted like a puff of smoke, blown away by the overwhelming weight of emotional pain. Nate set down the sharpening rod, lifted the steel blade to his belly, and with both hands pressed the tip against his flesh. That's it. I'll do it like the samurai. Tear my guts open. As he slowly pushed, he began to cry. He didn't want to die, yet he didn't want to live. He was afraid of the pain, but he felt the other pain far worse. He steadied himself. I'll do it. For once in my life, I'll succeed at something. And so he pressed the blade harder. At first, the point didn't break the skin, but the pain screamed. Still, he pushed. Then the blade broke through just below the surface, maybe a quarter inch. Instinct took over, and he pulled out the knife. A splotch of blood formed in his shirt and grew in size as it soaked in. Nate stood there, hyperventilating. He felt dizzy, defeated, coward. And then he thought, the wrists. I'll do it in the bathtub, no mess. He started across the kitchen to the bathroom upstairs. As he started across the kitchen to the bathroom upstairs, a glint of red light reflected off the blade. He looked about for the source and saw the flashing light on the answer machine. Ignoring it, he turned back to the stairs, but then something stirred inside him, like a silent urging that drew him toward the light. He walked over, pressed the button, and the red pulsing light went solid. Beep! New message, said a female machine voice. Then a woman spoke. Hello, this message is for Mrs. Anshu. I'm Mrs. Litchke from Good Samaritan Hospital. I'm calling to inform you that your father-in-law, Chayun Anshu, has been admitted to the hospital. He's contracted pneumonia. His condition is critical and he's in the ICU. It's urgent that you... Nick heard no more. The rest of the message was drowned out by Oji-san. A silent scream in his soul, like drowning under a shower of shattered fragments of despair. Trembling, heart racing, he rushed toward the door. Halfway there, Nate remembered he was wearing shorts. He turned back, bounded upstairs, got to his room, threw on jeans, then hurried out into the cold darkness. Icy air stung his face and sent a shiver up his spine. He cut across the front lawn and stopped. Wait, no bus into Plattsburgh this late. It's got to be 30 miles. He stared hard at the ground. Screw it, I'm walking. Nate shoved hands into his jacket pockets and trudged south along the roadside. To the left was Lake Champlain, which at night was an inky void of endless nothingness. Town center, a few blocks ahead. He passed the boat storage lot with its gaggle of sailboat masts that looked like clustered trees in a deadwood forest. Entering downtown, he came upon the old gas station with its tall, narrow pumps. He passed the liquor store and then the candy shop where Oji-san would take him to buy homemade chocolate. Now the soul about, spawning an eerie bleakness, even though he craved the comfort of solitude. Only 2 blocks further, he passed the marina, which marked the southern end of downtown. Another half mile, and the homes became scarce, just dark, empty farm fields. As Nate plodded through this barren landscape, his thoughts turned to Oji-san, drifting from worry to memories. He remembered how since he was 7, he would stay with his grandfather for the summer. He remembered how Oji-san taught him to play baseball and how they would play catch for hours on end. Oji-san also showed him how to work with wood. Together they made little projects like a birdhouse, a toolbox, and a small desk for Nate. On many warm summer afternoons, they'd sit on the grassy shores of a lake, fishing. Oji-san would pack sandwiches, chips, and sodas, and they cherished those quiet outings, even on days when they caught no fish. Those were the best of his memories, his only good ones. Come Sunday, Oji-san would take Nate to the church where he was pastor. What Nate loved most about church were all the cookies and punch served after service. Oji-san was kind and quiet and gentle, and he loved Nate dearly. Nate knew this down to his bones, and it forged in his heart a deep love for his grandfather. Oji-san was everything to Nate. He was all Nate had. After 3 hours of plodding, Nate labored to go any further. Legs sore, feet numb, freezing. God, and I still got 20 miles to go. He stopped, turned back, and stared into the darkness toward home. This is it. Point of no return. Go back now, and I can still make it. Keep going, and I might not. I'll have to rest sometime. If I do, I might fall asleep and freeze to death. And then he remembered, Oji-san. Screw it, I'm going. Just don't stop. Just keep walking. By the time he reached the small town of Chazy, he was limping, favoring a growing pain in his left leg. Car lights behind him. He moved further to the right, off the shoulder, onto the grass. A dark navy blue sedan with a bold yellow stripe down the side passed by. Cops. Red brake lights flashed bright. The state police cruiser slowed to a halt, and then roof lights lit, projecting rotating beams of blue and red. The car reversed to Nate as the passenger window rolled down. A shadowy figure sat behind the steering wheel, from which a flashlight glared into Nate's eyes. A gruff voice came from the dark apparition. What are you doing out this late? Nothing. Nate turned his back to him and walked on. The police cruiser paced alongside him. What do you mean, nothing? Sounds angry, mean. It's 1 a.m, so what are you doing? Nate glanced over his shoulder. Just walking? Where? He's accusing me like I did something. Plattsburgh. That's a good 20 miles, boy. It's freezing out. I know. I gotta go. Gotta go? What's a big rush? You can't wait for the morning bus. My grandfather, Nate sniffled, then wiped his nose. I got to see him. He's sick. Why can't I wait till the morning? It's bad. He's in the hospital. The lady said it was critical. Tell you what, kid, hop in. I'll give you a ride. The police officer leaned toward Nate and reached out an arm. The passenger door flung open. I'm okay. I'll walk. Boy, I'm not leaving you out here to walk all night in the cold. Get in. The sternness in his voice halted Nate. Obeying, he turned and got in. Out the corner of his eye, Nate peered at the state trooper. The man was 60ish with gray sideburns and tired eyes that sagged at the outer edges. Looks mean. The officer wrinkled his nose, sniffed twice, then turned to Nate. You okay? Yeah, why? That smell. It smells like... Nate rushed. It's nothing. He moved away and pressed against the door. The policeman stared for time, glancing occasionally down the road. He was driving. Then he interrogated. What's your name? Nate. Last name. Aren't you? You're one serious boy walking all alone this late, scolded the police officer. You can't be more than 10 years old. I'm 14. He scoffed. You're kidding, right? Nate got that a lot. He turned away and looked out the passenger window. Your mom know you're out here? No. He spoke to the window. I'm calling her. The state trooper swerved off the road, put the car in park, and then grabbed the radio mic. Dispatch, this is Unit 6. Nate's chest tightened. No, don't. The radio speaker crackled. Dispatch. Yeah, I need you to make a call for me. He turned to Nate. What's your number? She won't answer. She never does. The officer glared at him. Just give it. God, angry eyes. He turned away. It was all he could think to resist. All right, I'm taking you to the station. Ever spend a night in jail? Okay. 823-3823. He keyed the mic. Dispatch, number's 823-3823. All right, hold on. No answer. Should I keep trying? Nah, never mind. The officer hooked the mic. I'm taking you home. Why? Nate turned fully toward him, but looked down to avoid eye contact. I'll just go out again. You might as well take me to the hospital. Your mom's going to worry. No, she won't. She don't care. Come on. Of course she does. No, she doesn't. Besides, she's sleeping. Whatever. What's your address? You take me home, said Nate louder, and I'm walking out the door as soon as you leave. One way or another, I'm seeing my grandfather tonight. Staring ahead, the officer pursed his lips, inhaled deep through his nose, then exhaled slow and long. This is going against my better judgment, but... All right, kid. He put the car in gear and headed off. We'll be there in a half hour. Expecting another twist of events, but not sure what, Nate gripped the door handle, prepared to flee. Your grandfather must mean a lot to you. He's all I have. What about your mother? Through vacant eyes, Nate stared at nothing. She's not really there. The state trooper turned toward him. That's tough, kid. Nate caught his glance. Sympathy. Then he turned away and stared blankly out the window. You don't talk much, do you? Nate shrugged. Yeah, that's all right. After a solid 30 minutes, a large complex of brown brick buildings came into view. They pulled up under the covered main entrance, which was well lit, bright as day. Nate opened the car door and stepped out. Good luck, kid, said the officer. Nate looked back. The trooper's tired eyes, now revealed by the light, no longer seemed so mean and threatening, just worn, like they'd seen too much. Thanks, officer. I didn't mean to be any trouble. Yeah, I know, he said with a nod. Hope your grandfather's all right. Thanks. So long. Nate swung the car door shut. As he approached the entrance, automatic double door slid open. He stopped at the front desk and asked for directions. The hospital corridor was bright but pale. Somewhere along it was Oji-san's room. As Nate wandered down halls, he was taken by the smell, that antiseptic infirmary smell, cold, impersonal, welcoming of death. He found the room and stood outside, heart racing. Too afraid of what he might find inside, he froze, except for his fingers, which wriggled. Finally, he took a halting step. At first, he didn't see Oji-san. All Nate saw was a helpless-looking figure lying in a bed, cluttered over with medical contraptions. An opaque plastic mask shrouded the face and connected to a hose that led to a machine with a large bellows that lifted and fell, lifted and fell, lifted and fell. Wires ran from beneath the gown up to a box that beeped with a light that bounced up and down along a line. A thin plastic tube led from an arm up to a bottle that dripped like an old faucet. Underneath it all, Nate finally recognized the body that struggled to breathe. Oji-san, he cried. Fighting back tears, Nate held his breath, chest convulsing. He stripped off his backpack, fumbled through it, and pulled out a Bible and searched for a page. James 5:15. He found it and read it aloud. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise him up. Nate's voice quivered as he read it over and over. It's all he could think to do. Oji-san stirred and his eyes cracked open. Turning toward Nate, he feebly patted his hand on the bed and called him to his side. Nate moved over and gripped his grandfather's hand. With his other hand, Oji-san grappled with the mask to take it off. No! Nate reached to stop him, but it was too late. Oji-san's first attempt to speak produced only gurgled coughs. Urgent to hear, Nate pressed against the metal rail at the edge of the bed, then instantly recoiled in pain from the knife cut on his belly. Ignoring it, he leaned over towards his grandfather. In a hoarse, barely audible whisper, Oji-san managed to say, "Don't cry, Nate. Don't be afraid," Nate sobbed. Oji-san gasped, "It's wonderful. I'm not afraid. I've lived a good life. Soon, I'll be with God." "Don't talk like that, Oji-san, please." Frantic, Nate searched for the words. The medicine, the antibiotics. You will get better." With a peaceful glow of the blood, a desperate battle being waged within his body, Oji-san smiled at his grandson. "Death is part of life, Nate. It's not a bad thing. God is good." He motioned Nate closer. Nate leaned in until his ear was next to his grandfather's mouth. Oji-san struggled to continue. "Please, do something for me. You must go see a man in California." Before he could finish, he began to cough violently, choking and fighting for air. Nate bolted for the door to call for help, but before he got there, Oji-san's cough settled. He returned to his grandfather's side. Oji-san wheezed, grappling for air. "I left instructions on my desk in my study." Nate rushed to acknowledge. "Instructions on your desk. Okay, Oji-san. Promise me." "Oji-san, you know I will." For the next 2 days, Nate never left Oji-san's side. He was there when his grandfather passed away. Oji-san's broken body had fought until there was no fight left. Still, it was a peaceful death, almost imperceptible. While he slept, Oji-san simply took his last breath. Nate, however, took it hard. For 3 days, he wouldn't leave his room. Even his mother climbed out of her misery and became concerned. She knocked on his locked door. "Nate, are you okay? Nate, open up." He wouldn't answer. "Nate, you gotta eat something." For 3 days, Nate couldn't eat. Overwhelmed with grief, he couldn't process the loss. This only strengthened his resolve. Now, nothing would stop him from carrying out Oji-san's request. It gave him a purpose, a reason to live, and he would travel across the entire continent to see the man in California. But first he'd call, though he feared to. He knew nothing of this man. All he knew was that in some way he was special to Oji-san.